Hello and welcome to this special presentation of Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and today we are in Lodhi Gardens to have a discussion on a very important concept, that is the idea of India. Now the concept of the idea of India has seen multiple interpretations depending on individuals' political or ideological leanings. And the year 2016 has seen a number of events which has in one way or the other seen the idea of India being interpreted in different forms. We have with us a distinguished panel of guests, Mr. Sanjay Singh, political editor of First Post. We have Mr. Rakesh Sinha, director of Indian Policy Foundation, and then Vinod Sharma, political editor of Hindustan Times, and Mr. Vipul Mudgal, the director and chief executive of Common Cause. Let me start with you, sir. Vinodji, the idea of India is relatively said to be a very new concept. However, maybe 30 years ago or 50 years ago, this might have been, talked about in different terms or would have been given a different name. But in today's context, do you believe that the idea of India is now undergoing a change which erstwhile would have been a slow and continuous process, but now it's becoming a little accelerated one?
Well, I think that, as you rightly said in your preamble to this discussion, that there are different interpretations of the idea of India. But there are two elements in this idea of India which are a constant, and despite differences, there isn't much of a divergent viewpoint on that, which is that one is unity in diversity, and the other is justice, equality, and liberty for all. Now, on these three elements, there is no distinction between divergent viewpoints, between ideological differences, between where you are coming from. Now, I would say that the idea of India, as we understood it, and it's as old as the Constitution of India, that it is under strain. Some may even perceive it as being under threat, because there is an ideological duel going on in our country. Since 2014, which duel is basically about capturing the mind of India. So you can't capture a mind of India which has been molded in a tradition that you find as unacceptable to some extent, So that duel, that ideological duel is happening since 2014, and many elements have gotten into that duel. Maybe, for instance, there is an attempt, in my view, and this is again a debatable view, because as the idea of India is debatable, every individual idea is debatable. My view is that there is an attempt to standardize thought on certain issues in this country. And that standardization of thought is against the basic concept of divergent viewpoint, because unity in diversity is not just about subnationalities, it is not just about languages, it is also about ideas. The idea of India is wholesome because it has many ideas within it.
Let me bring in Mr. Sanjay Singh out here. Sanjay ji, do you agree with what Vinod ji is saying, that there is a sort of ideological duel which is going on, and the thought process is being subjected to certain changes which are required as per the requirement of a certain set of people?
Vishal, I think it's as you see it, and basically this is the place, the Lodhi Garden, with its historicity and modernity, kind of is the right setting to discuss idea of India. But the duel that Vinodji is talking about, I have slightly different viewpoint. That conflict of ideas and thought process and so on and so forth has always been there. It's not since 2014. It was prior to 2014. It was prior to when India was in colonial domain. It was before that in medieval India, and also prior to that in ancient India. Also, you have various strands of thoughts. Depending on, since now in present context we have a strong leadership, you have a government which is generally full majority government, and the person who heads it, Narendra Modi, is also perceived to be a strong leader, and therefore there are certain things which he does and his followers do that seems to be imposing on certain other people who are not in ideologically sync with this present dispensation. But yes, that conflict is there. But that conflict is not something which was never there in India.
But then you agree that seemed to impose on certain people with a different set of thoughts, with a different set of ideology.
I also take that as rising consciousness of Indian people. Rise of social media is also playing a catalyst, because prior to that, even if you had divergent viewpoint, you did not have access to social media, and therefore you could not have tweeted or went on WhatsApp or Facebook to convey your idea, to make it kind of widely circulated idea, and therefore debated and discussed and so on and so forth.
Let me bring in Rakesh ji out here. Rakesh ji, as Vinod ji was saying, that there cannot be two views on some concepts or some aspects of the idea of India, such as unity in diversity, justice, equality, liberty. But the criticism which is happening right now is pointing towards some of these basic tenets of idea of India only. Some of the criticism points to the fact that there is a conscious effort to fiddle with these aspects of the idea of India. Do you agree with that?
No, I think when there is a hegemony of a particular ideology and a particular political and ideological force for a long time, what I call a perpetual hegemony, then if counter hegemony emerges, a new consciousness emerges, and the hegemonic idea and forces are being under contestation, then the two things happen. First thing is that there is a great curiosity what someone is speaking. So they take it as in a very light sense. When that becomes in true sense a force and counter narrative, then the hegemonic idea tries to suppress that. And that's exactly happening in India. If you want to understand the idea of India, you cannot understand by the contemporary debates. I think 100 or 400 people who are debating idea of India cannot decide the real idea of India. Okay. You have to decolonize yourself. Why I say decolonize yourself? The first thing, if there is a debate today, unity and diversity, then you have to understand the present contest and content of religion and Indian tradition of Dharma are the two. The present content of secularism, which has been borrowed from the Western idea. That is a good idea. I don't say that that is a wrong idea. That has been evolved in the Western context, Western situation. And Indian tradition of Panth Nirpekshta are they two? So Constituent Assembly debate reflected them. I am just quoting Upanishad, which says, Atman Vidhi, know yourself, thyself, and liberate.
So you're saying that Indianized version is...
Just completing myself. You from Upanishads to Radha Krishnan, Swami Vivekananda, their idea of Dharma. So I believe that unless until India is getting decolonized, I say Swaraj of ideas, Swaraj in ideas. Unless you have Swaraj in your ideas, and here the last word, that after Narendra Modi came into power in 2014, the Guardian, one of the most popular newspaper of Britain, wrote, finally Britishers left India. They said in the contest that till now the perpetuation of the same idea, same ideology, a new idea and ideology is coming. So it is not an imposition. Sanjay Singh rightly pointed out, the contestation is the basic core of India.
Let me bring in Vipul ji out here. Vipul ji, do you agree with what Sinha ji is saying, that this is just a counter narrative which is now trying to assert itself, which is now trying to present a different picture and sort of a Indianized version of what several thoughts could have been, and it's not imposing on anyone?
No, in my view, the idea of India is such that counter narratives are welcome. And they should be, they've always been. And I don't think it was the hegemony of one kind of thought for a long time. I think Indian thought and the idea of India has been extremely inclusive. It has always included the idea of religions, it has included even the opposition parties. It is a much wider thing. It's not like saying history of India or archaeology of India, politics of India or economics of India. The idea of India has always been deeply philosophical.
There cannot be some set rules to define the idea of India.
But I would say that what had happened in between, the freedom movement of India was a major watershed moment. All the things of Indian religions and multiculturalism and the diversity of India and the empathy for each other and the respect for each other, all that came together in the freedom movement. You had Ambedkar, you had Gandhi, you had Nehru, you had Patel, you had Azad. So all these people brought in different elements of Indianness, and I think that idea of one government, according to me, is just a blip. Governments will come and governments will go, and the idea of India will survive.
It's a huge concept. It's just a blip. Vinodji,
Exactly.
Let me bring in you. Do you agree with what Sinha was saying, that it's just a counter narrative, nothing else?
No, I think that with all regards to my friend Sinha, there was a little, what his formulation had a contradiction. He started off saying that there were always the other viewpoint, and it is nothing new. I quite agree there, but the accentuation of the assault on the idea that we have seen over the past 70 years since the Constitution was adopted, it has accentuated lately. Insofar as decolonization of thought is concerned, you see, you can't decolonize thought by subjugating the thought that is there for the past 70 years. So I think that in this area, in this ambient of conflict of ideas, the duel between ideas, certain elements are less than democratic, who have taken upon themselves to change the narrative as per their desires. And then, not just in India, but also in the United States and other parts of the world, we have this phenomenon of the post-truth narrative. This post-truth narrative does not educate or empower people. It makes them emotional. It makes them irrational. It makes them intolerant to others.
Are you pointing towards the repeated use of the nationalistic fervor or nationalism?
See, for instance, I was reading an excellent article the other day by Gopal Krishna Gandhi. And with all regards to the Supreme Court of India, which seems to have given an order which is at peace with the idea of some people as to how should I present my salutations to my national flag. Mr. Gandhi said that our national flag is not a traffic signal, that you have to stop the moment you see it, stand up the moment you see it. The respect for the national flag comes from within, and every single Indian, even if he is not standing up in salutation to the national flag, or if he doesn't accept certain phraseology in our Rashtragan, should not be branded as anti-Indian. In fact, there is a point of view that Mahatma Gandhi himself thought that standing in salutation to the national flag was a tradition borrowed from the West.
Okay, let me bring in Sinha. Sinha, Mr. Sharma is saying that decolonization of thought cannot happen instantly. Change is a continuous process. Change will happen. Change has always happened. Why so much of eagerness, or rather, I would put it this way: that why forced way of bringing in a change?
Look, decolonization of thought is an emerging idea in India. It is not only me. When the subaltern historians are talking about the decolonization of thought, Dipesh Chakravarti called Europe, provincializing Europe. Europe is just like a province in the world. It is imposing its thought. It is not that every European idea is wrong. Ideas should be welcomed, but your own idea should not be suppressed. I am giving an example. The founder of Lingayat sect, Basava, he formed a parliament in 12th century. And that parliament has 770 representatives. And that was the finest parliament, that is socio-religious parliament. That was kind of different from the Vaisali and Lakshmi's parliament. So, but what we call the mother of Indian parliament is Britain. So, it is not that we should condemn someone, it is not that we should reject someone, but our own ideas, events should be in discourse. Second important thing is that I have given example of Dharma. The nature of definition and nature of Dharma in India, in the Indian people who understand, an illiterate person in a village, a farmer, he has not visited a school. The way he understands Dharma, and the way we read and we are taught religion, they are different. And I am giving example. Swami Vivekananda, what did he say? Whatever the name you give the God hardly matters. Allah, God, Ishwar, whatever you give, or thousands and millions of names you can give. But changing religion from one to another is not preferred in India. So that's why you can have a new sects, new philosophy. That the Semitic intervention in India, what I call Semitic impact intervention. Before Semitic religion came in India, you just see many religion, there's a possibility of new religions, sects and philosophers. So I think this should be studied in a objective manner. And what he said, Supreme Court has given verdict and Gopal Krishna Gandhi is contesting. That is the idea of India. Contestation is the core of idea of India, and that has been core, that will be core of idea of India.
Okay, one point is settled as of now, that contestation is the core of idea of India. But Sanjay ji, do you agree with this viewpoint which Sinha ji is putting forth, that it is just a conflict between the Western or European set of thoughts which were there, and the idea right now is to indigenize the thinking process, or rather bring in indigenous thoughts to the upper level, that particular sense?
See, with growth in society at large, in consciousness, in education, in economy and other values, you are integrated with world. So on one hand, you are kind of getting westernized in your food habits, in your dress, in your other social habits. At the same time, you are also now very conscious of your Indianness, your ethnicity, your culture, your heritage, and so on and so forth. And therefore, the two, I think, are going parallel. And therefore, few things which you want to reject of the West, you reject of the West. Few things which you want to adopt of the West, of Indianness, you adopt that, and also you assert your Indianness. Indian diaspora is, I think, asserting its Indianness through the world. And therefore, I don't really see that conflict, because India, there has been process of evolution since Harappan society to Vedic society to kind of medieval India to modern India till now. I think if we limit that to political discourse, I think we'll be doing injustice to the whole concept of idea of India. And therefore, when you debate and discuss this thing, also you see that lately our society has become slightly irreverential to established thought and ideas towards the established writers who are established person whose name kind of commanded the aura, and nobody would dare question their thoughts and ideas.
New names,
people
new thoughts.
have, yes, started, particularly the younger generation has started questioning their thoughts and ideas, and I say social media is hugely contributing to that, because it is accessed by youngsters as well as people from older generations, and therefore that contest of idea that is going on, I think that's a healthy process which social media has unleashed. Part of it is of course questionable and debatable, but part of it of course is a healthy process.
Vinod ji, Sanjay ji is saying that looking at it, this entire thing from a political prism would not be doing justice to it. One thing which I want to, one question which I want to pose to you is that 2016 has seen a number of events, at least half a dozen events, which have seen the discourse going from say one particular level to the pitch going higher, and includes the social media as well, and then it goes in a different direction where it might not have been intended. What I mean to say is that there have been several events. Do you subscribe to the thought that events like demonetization, the surgical strike, the JNU issue wherein the former JNU Students' Union president was arrested, they have contributed to this entire process of a new set of thoughts coming in and posing questions, as Sanjay ji was saying, that the younger generation is asking questions to the established set of thoughts?
It is greatly unsettling for someone like me, who belongs to a generation, fortunately or unfortunately, a connecting link between what we had seen in the past and what we are witnessing now. And I say it with great pain that certain events have greatly unsettled me as an Indian, as a citizen, as someone who loves his country the way it has been all these years. Sanjay is emphasizing on the social media, which is a very new phenomenon, and interestingly he is not emphasizing on the media. Now you see the narrative, look at the narrative on key issues in the media. You see, if the media is allowed to have its way, given that it is driven by TRPs, and TRPs are determined by a vast mass of people, and those vast mass of people are greatly influenced by what I just called the post-truth instrumentalities, instrumentalities, which do not empower them on issues. You see, today we have in public domain issues that should rightly have been settled by institutions. The line between institutional democracy and popular democracy has blurred. And on this count, governments, not only this government, even the previous government and governments that may come in the future, may find themselves deeply constrained by the popular view on complex issues that are not understood by the masses, So I would like to request that it is the responsibility of every government to empower people and not be always guided by its political vested interest. Secondly, you see, in a country like ours, if we make one mistake, वो कहते हैं ना कि लम्हों ने खता की थी सदियों ने सज़ा पाई, तो लम्हों की खता से हम बचें, and we should actually on key issues try and forge a national consensus. Congress party has been lammed consistently and rightly so on many issues, but Congress party could successively rule India for so long and disprove Churchill because it was from the very beginning a coalition of ideas. There was a very distinctive left of the center, right of the center stream, which and the merged together two merged thoughts could bring up the centrist scheme, which was acceptable to all. I would request the present day rulers and the present day government and our own Prime Minister that there has to be a conscious effort at creating a centrist view that is acceptable to all on key issues.
Vinod, on the centrist issue, I will bring in Sinha ji a little later. Let me go to Vipul ji on a different point which you pointed out, different issue, that the line between institutional democracy and the populist democracy is getting blurred to an extent where the future governments or the future rulers, the prime ministers and the presidents may find it difficult.
Determined by the Foreign Office
but I think,
or the PMO.
I don't mind if you do good populism. Say if you want to do something for the poor and you bring in something perfectly fine. Even if it is populist, I do not mind that. The problem is that certain contestations or certain contrary ideas are being evoked extremely selectively. What is being done is that some parts of like Indian culture and so-called my understanding of Indian philosophy are being blown out of proportions, even if they are not relevant today. What is relevant? Development itself is a site of contestation. You see, in Indian culture, economy and ecology are not two different things. They are the same. We have, when you talk about ecology, it comes from the same Greek word okios, which is dwelling, and which includes what? It includes birds and bees, it includes dwelling, it includes soil and seasons, it includes everything. It also includes the tribals' livelihoods, and those livelihoods are not being saved. There is an assault on those livelihoods. Last government was doing it, this government is doing it. I would say that if you have to evoke Indianness and the real idea of India from our scriptures, please get something for the environment, please get something for sustainability, please get something for poverty eradication. There's one more point I would like to emphasize here, that there were a lot of things which were lying in the bag, as they say, is the low-lying fruit. Like the Lokpal was already passed. Why didn't you take it further? Whistleblower protection is already, the rules are not framed. You want to fight corruption, please do it. Let there be some continuity and let India prosper.
Okay, great. Let me bring in Sinha Saab and Sanjay ji quickly. We are running short of time. 1 minute each, if you, both of you, starting with Sinha Saab. 2 points. One is what Mr. Sharma pointed out. One, a call for moving towards the centrist thought. Rather than going towards the extreme of either the right or the left ways. The second point which Vipul ji is pointing out is why not catch the low-hanging fruits first?
Look, if you are discussing idea of India, the government's job and governance is one aspect. I think the middle path emerges through contestation and consensus. That is inevitable in any democracy. Here I am discussing that whatever the discourse is taking place in India, I would quote Nyaya Darshan, Nyaya Darshan is one of the 16 philosophy of India, great philosophy. In Nyaya Darshan, they have pointed out there are 6 kind of nature of debate, 6 types. One type of debate is Vitandavad, Cavilism in English we call. So this is a Vitandavad. You have to kill your opponents without logic, without empathy. You are wrong. You have to prove you are wrong. So initially I said the hegemony idea of hegemony. You called RSS and BJP fascist for 4 decades without any debate on their ideological pursuit. They came into power, so you are debating on their ideological ingredients. That's why I say that counter hegemony has become a force, and that force is being intolerable by these people. So there is a award Vapsi gang. Second, I'm ending here, that in idea of India is egalitarian.
I think needlessly.
No, let me complete. Idea of India is egalitarian. I again quote Bhasapa, the founder of Lingayat. He said your earning should be part of extra earning, surplus earning should be part of the social trust. And Gandhi said trusteeship. I think this egalitarianism, discourse, debate, contestation, and diversities of philosophy, these are ideas of India.
Ideas of India. One last 30 seconds, Sanjay ji, we're running really short of time. Is do you believe that this is the time for that thought process which has been persecuted, as Sinha was saying, for the last 4 decades to get back?
See, I don't think anything has happened in last 2-3 years which can suggest that India is going to extreme right, so to say, or so far still India is pursuing a centrist path. So far as institutional democracy under attack, I think it has been there in the past. 40 years ago, India was under emergency, and also for 10 years we had a prime minister who was not elected, he was nominated. So that debate, I think, will go on, and it's good that you are bringing out these kind of debates on this particular forum.
Well, thank you so much. So this was the freewheeling debate on the idea of India, and as expected, there were as many thoughts as the guests we have on the panel out here. But at least one point which all of us could come to was, and agree to, was that the idea of India should include and does include the importance of agreeing to disagree. We'll come back again with a different topic on different day. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.